Severe weather warnings across Queensland, heavy rainfall, flash flooding already happening, a tropical low developing in the Coral Sea, multiple systems converging. That's the situation we are facing right now. I've been examining the latest data from the Bureau of Meteorology, looking at the Access model, comparing it with the European and GFS models, and tracking what's actually happening on the ground. This is a complex weather pattern and it deserves your attention. Right now across Queensland, conditions are vastly different depending on where you are. Up in far North Queensland around Townsville and the Atherton Tablelands, it's overcast but relatively calm at the moment. Mount Carbine hit 34 degrees this morning with 80% humidity. That's intense heat with swarms of biting black flies, making it even more unpleasant. Down in Gladstone, they've ecopped 185 millimetres over the past 4 days. The Calliope River peaked at moderate flooding but has now backed off to a no flood warning status. The sun's finally breaking through there, which is a welcome relief. Brisbane and the southeast, overcast skies but bone dry, 35 degrees in some areas with that typical oppressive heat you get on the backside of these systems when tropical air gets pulled south. Rain has been disappearing just as it approaches the coast. Frustrating when you're waiting for decent rainfall. Compare that to Rockhampton. They've had more than enough rain. The humidity is next level, making it hard to breathe in some areas. Out west in Barcaldine, they finally got 50 millimetres overnight. After months of watching the rest of Queensland cop all the rain, they've joined the party at long last. This sets the stage for what's developing. And what's developing is worth paying close attention to. Let me break down the meteorology. We've got 3 main players here. First, a surface trough sitting across central and northern Queensland. Second, a tropical low that's developing in the Coral Sea. Third, an upper-level trough providing the dynamics to fire up severe thunderstorms. The tropical low is the one to watch. It's currently sitting northeast of Cairns in the Coral Sea, and the models are in reasonable agreement about its track. The Access model, which is the Bureau's main forecasting tool, has it slowly drifting southwest toward the coast over the next 3 to 4 days. Now, this isn't a cyclone, not yet anyway. It is a tropical low, which means the circulation isn't strong enough or organised enough to be classified as a tropical cyclone. But don't let that fool you into thinking it is insignificant. Tropical lows can produce enormous amounts of rainfall, widespread flooding and damaging winds, even without cyclone classification. The European model and the GFS are showing similar scenarios. All 3 models have this low moving generally southwest, potentially making landfall somewhere between Cairns and Townsville later this week. The timing varies between the models by about 12 to 24 hours, which is normal at this range, but the overall pattern is consistent. What concerns me most about this low is the moisture it's tapping into. Sea surface temperatures in the Coral Sea are running above average right now. We are talking 28 to 29 degrees Celsius. That fuel for convection, that energy being pumped into the atmosphere. When this low moves over that warm water, it has everything it needs to intensify. The upper level pattern is also supportive. We've got an upper trough providing lift and instability right across eastern Queensland. That's why we're seeing severe thunderstorms already firing up across central and southern parts of the state, even before the tropical low gets involved. Let's talk about what is happening right now with these thunderstorms. The Bureau has severe thunderstorm warnings current for parts of central Queensland. These aren't your typical afternoon build-ups. These are organised systems capable of producing damaging wind gusts, large hail, and intense rainfall rates. When I say intense, I am talking about rainfall rates that can exceed 50 to 100 millimetres per hour in the heaviest cells. That is the kind of rain that causes flash flooding within minutes. Roads become rivers. Creeks that are normally dry become raging torrents. If you're in an area under a severe thunderstorm warning, take it seriously. The thunderstorm risk continues through today and into tonight across a broad area from about Rockhampton North to Townsville and west to the Central Highlands. These storms are hit and miss by nature. One town might cop 100 millimetres while 10 kilometres away stays completely dry. That's the nature of convective rainfall. Now, let's look ahead to what's coming as this tropical low develops and moves closer to the coast. Wednesday through Friday is when things intensify. The tropical low is forecast to be positioned close to the coast, possibly making landfall. Even if it stays offshore, the impacts will be significant across the coastal and adjacent inland areas. Rainfall totals over the 3-day period from Wednesday to Friday could reach 200 to 400 millimetres across a broad area of North Queensland. Some isolated areas, particularly where the low moves directly overhead or where orographic enhancement occurs on the ranges, could see totals pushing 500 to 600 millimetres. To put that in perspective, that's half a year's worth of rain for some areas falling in just 3 days. And unlike the scattered thunderstorm activity we're seeing now, this will be more widespread and persistent. Flooding is inevitable with those sorts of totals. The catchments across North Queensland are already wet from recent rainfall. The ground is saturated in many areas. Rivers are running high. It won't take much additional rain to push them over into flood. The Burdekin River, the Herbert River, the Tully River, the Johnstone River, all of these major systems are at risk of at least minor to moderate flooding. Depending on exactly where the heaviest rain falls, major flooding is possible in some catchments. For those of you along the coast from Cairns to Townsville and down to Mackay, you need to be prepared for potential inundation. Coastal streams and creeks respond quickly to heavy rain. If you live in a flood-prone area, now is the time to review your flood plan. Make sure you know your evacuation routes. Have your emergency kit ready. The Bureau will be issuing flood watches and flood warnings as this system develops. Pay attention to those. They are not issued lightly. If a flood warning is current for your area, follow the advice from the SES. If it is flooded, forget it. Never drive through floodwater. Wind is another concern with this tropical low. While it is not expected to reach cyclone intensity based on current modelling, we're still looking at the potential for damaging wind gusts, particularly near the centre of the low and in thunderstorm activity. Gusts of 80 to 100 kilometres per hour are possible in the strongest convective cells. If the low intensifies more than currently forecast, those numbers could go higher. Secure loose items around your property. Trampolines, outdoor furniture, anything that can become a projectile in strong wind needs to be tied down or brought inside. For those in caravans or temporary structures, consider relocating to more solid accommodation if this low looks like tracking directly over your area. Caravans handle strong winds well. The coastal waters will be hazardous. Strong wind warnings are likely to be issued for the Coral Sea and coastal waters off North Queensland. Seas will build to 3 to 4 metres, possibly higher near the low centre. If you're replanning any marine activities, cancel them. This is not the time to be on the water. Let me talk about the southeast Queensland situation because I know there's frustration down there. Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, you've been watching all this activity to your north and copying very little yourselves. The unfortunate reality is that this tropical low and the heaviest rainfall will stay well to your north. You might see some showers and thunderstorms on the southern fringe of the system, particularly mid to late week. But the widespread heavy rain is not forecast for the southeast. The southeasterly flow on the southern side of the low will keep most of the moisture away from Brisbane and surrounds. You might pick up 10 to 30 millimetres in scattered showers and storms, but that's about it. I know the dams need it, I know the gardens are struggling, but this system isn't your answer. Your best chance for meaningful rain will come from a different system, likely next week or the week after when the pattern changes and we get a more favourable setup for southeast Queensland rainfall. Now, let's talk about what happens after this tropical low moves through. The models suggest it will weaken as it moves inland, which is normal. Tropical lows lose their energy source once they move over land, but even as it weakens, it can still produce significant rainfall as it tracks southwest across inland Queensland. Areas like the Central Highlands, the Capricornia, potentially even parts of the Channel Country could see useful rainfall totals as the remnants of this low move through. For drought-affected areas out west, this could be welcome rain, but it needs to fall at rates the country can absorb. If it comes too hard too fast, it just runs off and causes flooding without providing the deep soil moisture that is needed. The timing of the peak impacts is still uncertain. We're talking about Wednesday through Friday as the main window, but that could shift by 12 to 24 hours, depending on how quickly this low develops and moves. I'll be monitoring the Bureau's updates closely. They'll refine the forecast as we get closer and as the observational data improves. The models will converge on a solution over the next 24 to 48 hours. Historical context is worth considering here. Many of you remember tropical lows and how much damage they can cause even without cyclone classification. These systems are common during the build-up to the wet season and into the wet season proper. Back in February 2011, we had a tropical low that sat off the coast near Cairns and Innisfail for days, producing catastrophic rainfall. Some areas recorded over 1 metre of rain in a week. That led to widespread flooding across North Queensland and contributed to the broader flooding event that affected so much of the state. This system doesn't look like it will be on that scale, but the principle is the same. Tropical lows can produce enormous amounts of rain. They move slowly, they are hard to predict with precision, and they cause flooding. In March 2023, we had another tropical low that tracked down the Queensland coast, producing flooding from Townsville to the Sunshine Coast. That one caught some people off guard because it wasn't a cyclone, so there wasn't the same level of attention, but the impacts were severe nonetheless. The lesson from these events is clear. Don't underestimate tropical lows. They deserve the same respect and preparation as cyclones when it comes to rainfall and flooding. So what should you be doing to prepare? Let's get practical. If you're in North Queensland from Cairns to Mackay, and particularly in flood-prone areas, your immediate priorities are, first, stock up on essentials now. Don't wait until Wednesday. Bread, milk, tinned food, medications, fuel for the car, fuel for the generator if you have one. Once the heavy rain starts, roads will be cut. Supply chains will be disrupted. Get what you need now. Second, charge everything: phones, laptops, power banks, torches. If the power goes out, you want communication and light available. Third, if you have a bathtub, consider filling it with clean water before the worst of the weather arrives. If the water supply gets contaminated by flooding, having stored water for drinking and hygiene makes a big difference. Fourth, review your flood plan. Know your evacuation routes. If an evacuation order is issued, leave early. Don't wait until the water is rising. Early evacuation saves lives. Fifth, secure your property. Bring in outdoor furniture, tie down trampolines, check your roof and gutters are clear of debris. Make sure your vehicles are parked on high ground if possible. For those with livestock, now is the time to move animals to higher ground if you have flood risk. Check your fences, make sure water troughs are secured. Livestock can die in floods, not just from drowning, but from contaminated water and lack of feed afterwards. If you're in a bushfire-prone area, and yes, some parts of Queensland still have fire risk despite all this rain talk, be aware that lightning from these storms can start fires. The combination of dry fuel in areas that haven't had rain, plus thousands of lightning strikes, is a concern. For those in central and southern Queensland dealing with the severe thunderstorms, the immediate threat is flash flooding and large hail. If a severe thunderstorm warning is issued for your area, get inside a solid structure. Don't drive through flooded roads. If you are caught outside and hail starts falling, protect your head and get to shelter. One thing I want to address is power outages. These systems often bring down power lines through either wind damage or lightning strikes. Ausgrid, Ergon Energy and the other network operators will be on standby, but it can take time to restore power in remote areas, especially if roads are flooded and crews can access the damage. If you lose power, don't open the fridge or freezer unnecessarily. Food will stay cold for several hours if you leave the doors closed. If you are using a generator, make sure it's outside and well ventilated. Never run a generator inside a garage or house. Carbon monoxide kills. Check on your neighbours and mates, particularly elderly people living alone. Make sure they know what is coming. Make sure they re-prepared. A simple phone call or knock on the door can make a big difference. For those in areas that aren't expecting significant impacts, don't be complacent. Weather systems can shift, forecasts can change. Stay informed through official sources, the Bureau of Meteorology, your local ABC radio, the SES. These are your reliable information sources. Avoid spreading rumours or unverified information on social media. Stick to official warnings and advice. Now, looking beyond this immediate system, what is the broader pattern telling us? We're in a transitional phase. The Madden-Julian Oscillation is moving into a phase that typically supports tropical activity in our region. Sea surface temperatures are warm. The monsoon trough is starting to develop across the north. This means we're likely to see more tropical lows and potentially tropical cyclones as we move deeper into the wet season. This particular low might be just the first of several systems we deal with over the coming weeks and months. Climate drivers like the Indian Ocean Dipole and the Southern Annular Mode are currently in neutral phases, which doesn't give us strong signals one way or the other about rainfall patterns. But the warm sea surface temperatures and the atmospheric setup suggest an active wet season is likely. For those in the south, your pattern is different. You're dealing with more typical spring and summer weather, hot days, possible thunderstorms, but not the tropical influence we see in the north. Your significant rainfall events will come from different sources, likely cold fronts and east coast lows later in summer and into autumn. One final point on this tropical low, there's a small chance, and I want to emphasise it's a small chance based on current modelling, that this low could intensify into a tropical cyclone. If the upper level environment becomes more favourable, if it tracks over the warmest water, if wind shear decreases, it could reach cyclone classification. The Bureau will monitor this closely. If it looks like intensifying to cyclone strength, warnings will be upgraded accordingly. But based on what we are seeing now, the most likely scenario is it remains a tropical low with heavy rainfall and gusty winds, but not cyclone force winds. That assessment could change. I'll be watching the 6-hourly model updates. I'll be watching the satellite imagery. I'll be watching the observations from weather stations and ships in the Coral Sea. If something changes significantly, that's when you will see the forecast shift. The key message here is vigilance without panic. This is a significant weather event, heavy rainfall, flooding likely across parts of North Queensland, damaging winds possible, but it's manageable if you are prepared. You've been through weather events before. Many of you remember Cyclone Yasi in 2011, Category 5 system that crossed the coast near Mission Beach. Winds up to 285 kilometres per hour. That was an extreme event. This tropical low won to reach those levels. You remember the 2011 floods, Toowoomba, Brisbane, entire communities underwater. That was catastrophic. This system has the potential for significant flooding, but we are not forecasting a repeat of those conditions. What we are forecasting is a serious tropical weather event that requires preparation and attention. Not panic, not complacency, preparation. Stay informed through the Bureau's website and app. They update warnings regularly. Follow your local SES on social media. Listen to ABC Radio for emergency broadcasts. If warnings are issued, follow the advice. If you are told to evacuate, evacuate. If you are told to shelter in place, shelter in place. The people issuing these warnings have your safety as their priority. I'll continue monitoring this system and providing updates as the situation develops. The next 24 to 48 hours are crucial for refining the forecast. We'll know more about the exact track, the timing of landfall, if it does make landfall, and the rainfall totals we are looking at. For now, use today and tomorrow to prepare. Get your supplies, secure your property, review your plans, stay informed. This is the wet season in Northern Australia. Heavy rain, tropical lows, potential cyclones. It asks what happens every year, but every system is different. Every event has its own characteristics and risks. Respect this system. Don't underestimate it, but don't panic either. Be prepared, stay informed.